the United Nations had a house band, Pink Martini might just be it. Performing in over 25 languages and concerts around the world, the little orchestra has been delighting audiences for over a quarter century with a sound that defies categorization. I'm excited to say that vocalist and percussionist Timothy Nishimoto has joined me in the studio. Good morning.
Hello.
Good. Welcome back to Classic. Welcome to Classic 107. Welcome back to Winnipeg.
Yeah.
It's been a few years since you guys have been
I
in town.
can't remember when we played here last, and we didn't play with the symphony. I know that.
I think it was Jazz Fest in like 2016, something like that.
I don't remember.
Oh, it's been a few years. It's been a few years. Yeah, I was going to say you guys are kind of all over the place, to say the least. 25 years since Pink Martini was founded back in 1994. Back in those early days, you were a guest vocalist. Is that how it all started?
Yeah, for me, yes.
And what kind of gigs were you guys doing back then?
We started in clubs and Thomas, the leader of the band, loves to host parties. He loves parties, and he loves to play music, and so that was basically how it started.
Yeah,
He wanted to do parties, and we did clubs mostly in the early days. Yeah, and I was a guest vocalist for the first 2 years, so 94 to 96.
Yeah. There's that often told story. Thomas Lauderdale, the founder of Pink Martini, was in politics. He was disappointed by the music at fundraisers that he often heard, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, how did you first get involved when he started Pink Martini?
He had just started the band, and I was at a party at his house, actually, and someone said, "Hey, Timothy, you should sing a song." And, so Tom, that's kind of how it got started. So
and the rest is history.
Found myself in his piano studio the next day, and we picked out a few songs I could sing. And
oh, what a cool story!
Yeah.
The moral of the story: attend parties, and who knows
Right.
where you'll go from there.
Yeah.
Timothy, I'm curious. Can you talk a little bit about your musical background? You mentioned a friend said, "Hey, can you sing a little bit here?" When did you start singing, performing, and all that good stuff?
Well, I started singing in church, actually, with my family. I have an older brother, 2 years older, and when I was 2 or 3, we would sing as a family, do 4-part harmonies in church, and that's kind of how I got started.
Wow.
And I didn't really study music until after I officially joined Pink Martini.
Yeah.
But I was in a vocal jazz ensemble in high school. That's how I got started.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like you need some sort of formal musical background. That definitely isn't some sort of a precursor that you need to have.
Right.
I understand, though, that singing and percussion isn't all that you've done. You've also crafted another career as a sommelier and a restaurant owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you knew that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm curious. I've watched some on Netflix. How did you find the time to not only tour with Pink Martini and perform, but also have this other passion that is another career?
Well, that's funny. When he first started Pink Martini, I was managing a restaurant, and it was difficult because I was working full time plus, and we would do a couple of shows a week, and it was tough. But the band didn't really start touring until after. So I was with the band to 96, and then in 96, that's kind of when they really got started.
Yeah.
And then I officially joined the band in 2003.
Yeah.
And they were already touring, but I was in the restaurant business, and I opened my own wine bar and restaurant in 2005, and I'm a sommelier, certified sommelier. I have since sold it. I sold it in 2015, but it was really, really difficult because with the band we travel about half the year, so about 150, 170 days a year, and to own and run a restaurant and do that was really, really difficult.
Did you find parallels between the two careers in a way? Like, I'm just thinking of both can be very, very busy with long hours, but there's also maybe these little moments of refuge, like maybe when you open up a new bottle of wine or you're kind of between gigs. Did you find parallels between the two, or like a balance?
A balance for sure.
Yeah.
Because I mean they're so different. My two lives were so different, and I always felt like if if I only did the restaurant, I was doing the restaurant 7 days a week, all day, every day, it would drive me nuts.
Yeah.
And, also, touring, if I were to tour and play music and nothing else, I think that would be too much for me.
Yeah.
So they did balance each other out for me.
Yeah.
But it was just, I needed a break. So,
Yeah.
So I sold the restaurant. So.
But it sounds like a good pairing, to use a wine term, I guess. It
Yeah.
sounds like a very good pairing. Yeah. Returning to the musical side of Pink Martini, the group started in Portland, and from there you guys have become musical diplomats, performing in over 24 languages around the world. Mm-hmm. What's that like, performing around the world for audiences, and what kind of feedback do you guys get, depending on where you are?
It's really exciting. I mean, it's not, the lifestyle is not for everyone, for sure. I have always loved traveling. I do speak a few languages, and I grew up in a Japanese household in a Hispanic neighborhood. So Japanese and Spanish were always around in my life, and I speak a little bit of both. And I just, it's so exciting to play around the world and just, meet people from everywhere. I, as a sommelier, I get to eat and drink local foods, and it just adds to the experience for me.
Oh, no doubt. I guess one of the things that always strikes me about Pink Martini is not only the music that you guys play, but also the environment you create, this sense of inclusion, a safe space. Is that right? Do you feel that when you're on tour?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Thomas, the leader of the band, he loves to be inclusive, and he loves to have people on stage dancing. Mm-hmm. He loves a party. Like I said, he loves a party. And he, even in symphonies, I mean, I guarantee that there will be people on their feet in the aisles dancing by the end of the night.
Perfect. So I guess that leads very smoothly into this last question. What can audiences expect tomorrow? Just a great big fun party? Today and tomorrow, I should say.
One thing about our shows is it's so much more than a concert. It's not just a concert. It's a show, and it's a spectacle, and it's like a party on the stage. It's especially with Thomas and his love for classical music, his love for music, period, and his love of a party, of a good party. We can guarantee that it's going to be really fun. It's always really fun.
And that is just so important. Timothy, thank you so much for coming by Classic 107 this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Pink Martini opens the 2019-20 Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra Pops series this weekend. Like you just heard, it's going to be a great party, performing at the Centennial Concert Hall today, Friday, and tomorrow, beginning at 8 p.m. For more details, visit wso.ca. We're going to hear a little bit of Pink Martini to wrap this interview up. Timothy, would you mind introducing this one? We're going to hear, I've got Brazil queued up from Sympathie. Can you tell us a little bit about the tune?
A lot of our music is rooted in Brazilian and Afro-Cuban and in classical, of course. And it's just a beautiful classic song that we love to end every show with. And a lot of times we have samba bands and dancers with what they call fantasias with the big feathers, and it's a great way to sort of cap the night, and so I think it's a great song to play today.
Here it is, Brazil by Pink Martini.